Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alyssa and I talk about cartoons and cartoony things. Now, you may be wondering why everything is so dark and spooky looking, and it's because we're going to talk about Invader Zim, and this is as close to goth as I could get without having some kind of physical allergic reaction, but also because it's fall, it's Halloween, and you may be saying, Alyssa, it's only halfway through August, it's not Halloween yet, but you would be mistaken, for it is not us peasants who decide when seasons change and when holidays happen. It is Lord Michael and Lady Joanne, and they have adorned their kingdoms with the decor of the autumn season, so it is upon us now whether you like it or not. And that means that Christmas starts in about a week, so get shopping. Now, I was going to do two videos, like a mini Rocko video in the middle of the week and then another Zim video at the end of the week, but really all I had to say was check out this drawing I did. The drawing goes by really quick in the Procreate videos. They're both really short. And all I had to say was, like, the specials are good, go watch them, which, who wants to watch that? Who wants to watch a positive review on YouTube? Like, nobody. So you have to say something. You have to have something to say. And I thought both of these specials have something to say about nostalgia. One more directly, Rocko, and one more kind of indirectly and in interviews and things, the Invader Zim special. And also I wanted to do speed paint, so you're gonna see a speed paint of Rocko that's exactly as described. It's a cute little drawing of Rocko that I did. But the Invader Zim speed paints, they're redraws of art I did when I was 13 years old, so they're not very good. They're done in Microsoft Paint, and I don't know why Dib has rabbit ears and why Gur is doing a Got Milk ad. I guess I thought that was really funny when I was 13. So yeah, let's get to speed painting and talking about the role of nostalgia right after this incredibly nostalgic intro sequence I made. Enjoy. Now, Invader Zim Enter the Florpus doesn't directly talk about nostalgia in the way that the Rocko reboot does, but the creator of Invader Zim, Jonan Vasquez, had quite a bit to say about it in his promotional materials for the movie. There are a lot of quotes about nostalgia in all these interviews that I was finding about Enter the Florpus. The first quote is even from an article from Sci-Fi titled, "The creator of the Invader Zim movie cares nothing for your puny human nostalgia." I didn't want to address the changes in our times or any of that kind of thing. I didn't want it to feel like, he's back and he's better than ever. He's not better than ever. He's just as horrible as he's ever been. It was just important for me. I get really uncomfortable watching stuff that cashes in on nostalgia. From a different article from denofgeek.com we have, nostalgia being the driving factor is a turn-off for me. I don't go see things because I loved a thing in a previous incarnation. I know that people will talk about Zim in nostalgic terms, but that's far off from why I made the thing. It would be great to just hear that someone loved the movie, liked it or didn't like it, based on what it is, not what memories they had of themselves as terribly dressed teens, and what it is just more Zim. And one more quote from CBR.com, I thought this one was extra funny. "A thing I really didn't want to do was make the movie about nostalgia. You can't control how people will factor nostalgia into their expectations, but I'm pretty put off by reliance on it. When you see some guys from Cantina scene from Star Wars focused on in the scene from Rogue One, instead of being thrilled, I'm irritated and wish the filmmakers weren't leaning on that kind of distracting crap. I'm already enjoying your movie, damn it. Stop trying so hard." So I don't really know what was thrown in just for people to remember stuff. I'm really glad to see Minnie Moose show just how powerful their acting chops are. I love that last quote not only because Minnie Moose is a delight to watch on the screen, but the comparison to the blatant nostalgia pandering of the Star Wars franchise is very reminiscent of the nerd dudes that Red Letter Media always skewers in their videos. The Falcon! The Millennium Falcon! It's the Millennium Falcon! This kind of thing, the kind of fandom overreaction, and the seemingly endless stream of reboots and remakes that Hollywood pumps out seems to be entirely banking on name and brand recognition to milk money from 80s and 90s babies, and I think it's the kind of nostalgia and reboot that is creative poison. I respect Jonan Vasquez's decision to kind of strip all those expectations of what a reboot should be from his special. He is a uniquely vibrant and passionate kind of artist and creator who seems to really only have the time of day for ideas that actually get him excited to get out of bed and work, and I would assume that the rest of the creative team on Florpus feels the same way. I don't think any of them would show up for something that's a blatant cash grab, and I think in other interviews he's even mentioned that Nickelodeon wouldn't stop banging on his door about wanting a reboot of Zim, and for years he didn't want to do it because he didn't have an idea. So this idea of not wanting to do a cash grab for the sake of doing a nostalgia pander thing, I totally get. Even the visual style of Enter the Florpus is like a fresh redesign of familiar characters. Dib and Gaz with the most notable changes to their character design, for the better, I feel. The color palette of this show is much more sophisticated than the old TV show, and overall the new look feels a lot more informed by the comics that were made post-Nickelodeon Zim. Even some of the plot points I've read are taken from the comics. I haven't read the comics, but the fact that this movie is kind of a an amalgamation of ideas from the comic series and from the original TV series and completely new ideas, I think kind of makes it a better creation than something that's just a direct reboot or direct fan service for the original series fans. The team behind this special clearly put a lot of focus on making something funny, smart, gorgeous to look at, and they weren't looking too much in the rearview mirror when they did it. But I think the nature of making a reboot means you're going to have to glance in the mirror occasionally. Vasquez's attitude toward nostalgia is pretty valid, and I think most people are growing tired of seeing the same types of movies and shows ad nauseum, and long for new ideas and characters to fall in love with. What made a show like Zim great in the first place was that it wasn't like anything else on Nickelodeon at the time, or anything else for kids. It was a new story with a different take on children's TV that kind of pushed the boundaries of dark humor and horror and science fiction and weirdness and yelling and mini mooses. This kind of turned out to be the show's demise, as it never really pulled in the same ratings as other, perhaps less adventurous cartoons, but it is what kind of cemented it as a cult classic for all these years and what created the fan base who's been clamoring for this reboot ever since. And as right as Vasquez is in these quotes, and as wonderful as Florpus is for being a fantastic hour of more Zim, and it is fantastic, please go watch it, it can't escape the fact that nostalgia was the catalyst for its existence, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Even the art director of the special, Jenny Goldberg, mentions wanting to capture nostalgia in the look of the special.
Something that I tried to do with the art direction on this is really channel how Zim made me feel, so I'm hoping to make everybody feel that same kind of nostalgia, but more modern and updated.
Which is why this video has turned into a Zim and Rocko double feature, since I think the Rocko reboot has a lot more to say explicitly about this warm and fuzzy nostalgic feeling. So, with that said, let's talk about Static Kling's more in-your-face and upbeat perspective on, well, reboots. Now, Rocko's Modern Life Static Kling puts its ideas about nostalgia and reboots kind of front and center. The meta story about Rocko demanding a reboot of his favorite show, The Fatheads, can be read as a dig at fandom, a dig at corporate greed, or it could be just a thank you to the fans who made Static Kling a reality by clamoring for this content since Rocko left TV in the first place. But ultimately the story is about embracing change, and I've read some takes that Static Kling is all about abandoning nostalgia and letting go of the past entirely, but I would argue that the story embraces nostalgia pretty warmly. The jabs at modern tech is in of itself kind of a rehash of the slice-of-life format of the original TV series, and the characters, aside from Rachel, don't really undergo any huge transformation within the special. They are the same cast of characters that we know and love. The team behind this special really put their money where their mouth is visually when they were mocking modern-day CG reboots and making things the quote-unquote right way with traditional animation techniques. The visual style and animation of the special is very true to the 90s series in a way that Zim's reboot wasn't. It's very, except for it being slightly cleaned up, it really is an extension of the TV show. Visually, it really is the same. It's just as fun and wacky and over-the-top and stylized and 90s and colorful as it's ever been. Warm and fuzzy feelings aside, nostalgia does get its fair share of mockery and scorn in the special, being stuck in the past. Within the Fatheads reboot, inside of a reboot, we see two characters that proclaim excitedly that they're stuck in a nostalgia hole. Rocko becomes kind of a curmudgeon when even this traditionally animated redo of his series, because it's not a carbon copy of what he wanted, he throws kind of a fit before he comes around to accepting change. And this darker side of not accepting change is even explored a little bit when Ed Bighead refuses to accept his daughter's life and changes, and he refuses to change with the times, and it causes kind of chaos for the town and a strain on his family relationships. So I think being stuck in the past and nostalgia are kind of seen as a force for good and evil in this special. And I think this quote from Daily Dot writer Caitlin Moore sums up the special's attitude towards looking to the past and the future pretty perfectly. Even though Static Kling arguably only exists because of 90s nostalgia, it has a complex relationship with the concept of nostalgia itself. Nostalgia can be empty and corporate, like many of the live-action Disney remakes designed to separate people from their cash. Nostalgia can be paralyzing as its victims languish longing for the past instead of experiencing the present and looking toward the future. But nostalgia can be warm and inspiring, as we embrace a present that only exists because of who we were and the choices we made in the past. Static Kling cautions against the former two, while warmly depicting the latter. And I agree, nostalgia is powerful. Whenever you emulate the characters, the stories, the sounds, the look and the feel of anything from the past, you're going to either knowingly or unknowingly tug on the heartstrings of people in ways you can never really predict. Evoking nostalgia digs at memories from earlier lives of your audience, and in the case of these two particular reboots and their target demographic, it's really tugging at people's childhood experiences. You could be reminding people of something that shaped their view of animation and art. In my case, these two shows both inspired me creatively, especially Invader Zim. You could be tugging at something that inspired people to follow their own unique dreams and pursuits, or something that provided a temporary escape from a harsh reality when they really needed it the most. Having these really potent connections to our past is part of being human, and to evoke a nostalgic feeling in your art should be wielded very responsibly. Rose-tinted views on the quote-unquote good old days can really bring out nasty hatred of all that is ever-changing and new about life. So, and you can also lead to stunting emotional and mental growth if you get stuck in a nostalgia hole. But as much as you try to stay new and fresh and cut all ties from the past and nostalgic feelings, those feelings are still going to exist. Those Hot Topic mall goths who deck their whole room out in like Gur merchandise, they are going to feel more strongly connected to an Invader Zim reboot of any level of quality. Luckily, this reboot is excellent, but they would feel more strongly about any kind of reboot than they would any kind of original thing that Joan and Vasquez could ever make. And that's okay. The things we loved as children, young adults, they serve as guiding lights or fond reminders of lessons learned. I mean, how many times have you heard a song and you're immediately taken to like a specific moment in your life? You can't really shake those feelings. And knowing that you can't really shake feelings of nostalgia, as an artist, you have to wield that power responsibly. You have to use that power for good. You can use the art of the past to inform the art of the future, and you can either embrace tradition and extend it a warm handshake with a nod towards the new, or you can pick up where you left off creatively and refresh that old energy with a new coat of paint, new attitude, and create something completely modern and vibrant in line with where you are creatively in this present moment, without losing that spark that made that thing special to begin with. In short, it's okay to be nostalgic, just don't put yourself in a nostalgia hole. Thanks for watching and listening to all that. This is the first real attempt I've made on this channel since I've started it up again to make a video that's about something other than what I'm drawing on screen. Though I will say my redraws turned out much better than the original, so I'm quite happy with them. And I'm pretty happy with my little Rocko too, I think he's cute. But the video wasn't about the paintings directly, so if you guys want to see more of this kind of thing, that it's like commentary on animation or anything else, leave a comment and let me know if you like this or didn't like it, or if you'd like me to just go back to speed paint videos. I'm open to all feedback. You can also subscribe to this channel to see more speed paints and videos about cartoons and things like this. You can check out my other speed paint videos that are already on this channel, or you can check out the links to all my social media in the description below to follow my artwork there on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, and I forget what else. I'm on everywhere. Thank you again for watching and have a fantastic day.